Friends, it's been like an entire week since I was online with you. Welcome. And tonight is Tuesday, May 24th, and that's 2022. Tonight we're going to do a Technique Tuesday. Going to do a little playing with watercolor paper, watercolor pencils, and my water painters. So it's a water kind of thing. If you're here watching live, please leave me a comment so I know you're here. Let me know where you're hailing from. I'm in Guelph, Ontario, and it is 7 o'clock Eastern Time. So let's get on and get started. And oh, I should also say, if you're watching the replay, drop me a note so I can say hi to you and know that you were here giving this a look-see. So this stamp set is a really pretty one called Blessings of Home. I apologize for the shine there. There we go. Blessings of Home, which I've had since back in November and haven't really used that much. I mean, I've used a little, but not a lot. And especially this large stamp here, which you really need to color in. There's other things you can do, but like you need to color it in. It just screams that it needs some coloring in. So that's what I did on this card. I used watercolor paper. So if you're going to use, hi Brenda, if you're going to use some, thank you, yes, just down the road. If you're going to use some water on it, you need some watercolor paper, and I'll tell you why. If you use plain basic white or our old Whisper white, it's going to curl. There's a couple things you can do if you do that, but it's also going to fray a little bit, and that's not always good. So I really recommend getting the watercolor paper. It's $12.25 for 10 sheets of 5 by 7. I've used a piece here that's 3 3/4 by 5, so I've got some pieces left, and you can do something fun with those leftover bits. The water painters are a set of 3. We used to have aqua painters if you've been around for a while, and those kind of went out a few years back, and now we've got these water painters, which are $18 for 3. But what I like about them is there's 3 different types of nibs on them. So this one I'm going to use tonight for watercoloring. This one's about the same size. It's a little bit thinner, but I keep it reserved with alcohol in it for other techniques. So I've just got rubbing alcohol in there, not the drinkable kind. And then for painting with a paintbrush kind of look, we have this one here. It sweeps across. Don't use that one quite as much. I've just got a little bit of water in there. So it's a 3-pack in our catalog. Let's see, we're going to move the alcohol-based one away. So I'm going to use that. Because I'm watercoloring, I'm going to use my Memento Tuxedo Black ink that adheres nicely to the watercolor paper and allows you to do the watercoloring without it bleeding out. And you guessed it, watercolor pencils. So we have 2 sets of them, if you will. They come in a box that's basically this size. Okay, and this is set number 1. There are 13 pencils in here with some of our base colors and a white one, which is good for some techniques. But we also have an assortment number 2, same kind of box idea, and it has another, how many is there? 3, 6, 9, 10? 10, I guess. Let me count them again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 10 different colors, just to kind of supplement. And these are $17, and the original set is $22. So it's an inexpensive buy-in to get a lot of different colors, and they match our other colors, so they'll match your paper and all that kind of stuff. Hi, Barbara. Thanks for joining me. Hi, Deb. Yes, doing okay. No, not affected by the storm in my house, but like not even 5 kilometers down the road, all kinds of damage in our city. So craziness that was. We just didn't even have power outages. We just had a little brownout for a short period of time, and we were all good to go. Thank goodness. But yeah, it was a bit harrowing over here in Ontario. Okay, so this is our card. Now I looked at my different floral stamp sets about which ones I wanted to use, and here's a couple in my stash, and that's only current ones. Okay, Daffodil Daydream, this would be perfect for this technique. Hand penned petal, either one of these. This one in particular I think would be really nice. It's a two-step stamp. So if you have this set, you're used to stamping into that image, but you can just color these. This one I'm not 100% sure about, but I kind of like the idea of doing it with Nature's Harvest and trying it out. The one I'm going to use, because I've hardly used this stamp set, is Hydrangea Haven. And I'm going to use this nice one here. This may be a total flop. I'm willing to go with that. Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate that. I'm going to just give it a try and see how it goes. So what I need, I'm not going to use these colors though. I'm going to use the pinks. So in the original set, I'm going to grab Melon Mambo, and I'm going to grab Old Olive Green, so I have a dark green. From the supplement set, I'm going to grab Flirty Flamingo, so I'm going to try to marry those two pink colors up, and the Granny Apple Green. So I have two green colors for my leaves. We're going to give this a go and see. I've got my watercolor paper, 3 3/4 by 5. Perfect. I'm going to mat it onto some black because that always makes things pop. And that's 4 by 5 1/4, standard mat. And then my card base is 11 inches by 4 1/4. I'm going to score it at 5 1/2 in the middle and burnish it, and it's an front opening card, top full opening card. All right. I re-inked my memento so that it would give a nice crisp image, hopefully not overly done. And I've already got my stamp onto my block. Now, one thing I found with these ink pads is you almost need to do a little twist. When you're putting it down like this, what happens is it's like you're adding the ink and you're kind of taking it away. I don't know if you've ever found that, but anyway, you have find that a hard SS to work with. Not sure why. Oh, as far as stamp set, yes. I can hear you, and that's maybe why I haven't used it myself. A little bit, there's something about it that just doesn't jive with me, but I like it. It's pretty, and I really like the greetings. So anyway, back to this. So I find I do a little twist action. I go down and I twist, and that kind of helps add the ink a little bit better. Now, what I did notice happened is I ended up with a fair bit of ink on these leaves on the edge. I just want to clean that up because I don't want to be unhappy about this. Okay, so we'll just add a little bit more. Add the ink back. Hopefully that's not too dark. Alrighty. Quit talking and get stamping. So I'm going to put it this way. Now, of course, if I used my Stamparatus, then I could go back and forth and add it in if I didn't get enough ink on the first round. It's not as important when you're doing this watercoloring technique because you're adding color over it all anyway. So that's how it turned out. Pretty crisp, pretty nice. It dries fairly quickly. I'm going to have here some paper towel, just some paper towel to wipe off, because I find with the water painters that I end up needing to wipe off. It ends up getting a bit too wet sometimes. So you'll see on these guys it says push. That's where you squeeze. There's push on both sides, and when you squeeze that, that kind of engages the water down in it. So I'm just going to give it a little squeeze there. There we go. And just have that ready to go. And I'm going to color first though. So let's start with the lighter, which is the Flirty Flamingo. And it is kind of nice if your pencil is not too sharp. So sometimes some of the ones in there, when they're brand new, because they come sharpened, they're a super sharp point. Not always so great for this. And I'm just going to lay down some color. So like I said, this could be a total flop. I'm not sure how this is going to work, but I'm willing to be vulnerable and give this a go. So I'm going to add the pink in, and then I'm going to go back in with the Melon Mambo and add some darkness to it. And then when I go to blend them, I think it's going to blend fairly nicely. So I'm not filling it all in, because remember, I'm going to add water to it, right? So I'm going to like pool it and pull it around a little bit. or let the water painter do its magic. So it's kind of a something you could just sit on the back porch or out on your table on your patio and do a little coloring, a little watercoloring, have a little tea or whatever your favorite beverage is, a little quiet time to try a nice little technique. Let's see here, we're almost done. Doesn't take long. And then this one too, it's like a big ball of a flower. You know how they come and they're like this. So it doesn't matter that I need to worry about being inside the lines when I'm doing this part of the flower, because it's going to be one big huge ball of flower images. One up here. I forgot a few on my last one until afterwards. Alright, so I've added that pink. That's flirty. Now I'm going to go in with the Melamambo, and I'm going to just, not everywhere, but I'm going to go around maybe the big ones, because there's big and small sort of images on this, and just kind of add a little bit extra and see how that turns out. With my sample card, I had done all in the light blue and then went in afterwards when it had dried and used the dark blue and did some more blending. You could use a blending brush if you wanted. You just get a really different look with watercolor than you do with a blending brush. But a blending brush works too. I like these water painters. Our old form of them I was not so great with. I found it really hard to kind of manage the flow of the water. These I find so much easier to do that. So if that was your experience, this might work well for you too. Alright, so that's adding some darker pink in there. And then I'm going to take the Granny Apple Green. Can you use alcohol with pencil crayons? Yes, you can use, can you use alcohol with pencil crayons? I don't know. I have to think that one through. I am not sure. That's a good question. I use the alcohol in there when I'm doing more of that marbling look with other markers, but I don't see why not. I think we should try it. Why don't we just throw caution to the wind and try it tonight and see what happens? Typically what I find with alcohol instead of water is it just makes it dry faster, and so it's a little bit better. So glad you suggested it. We're just going to throw caution to the wind and give it a go. So that was Granny Apple Green, and then this is Old Olive. And so I'm going to go on the lines. This is great when your leaves or your image has some lines or definition of what you can color on, because that really helps. I do this with the Stampin' Blends too. I just color the lighter parts in on the open ends, and then where the leaves and their lines and variegated pieces are, well then that's where I add my darker stuff. Okay, all right, switching, because Debbie thought it would be fun, to the alcohol painter. Let's see what happens. I'm excited. All right, so we need to prime this one because I probably haven't used this in a little while, so we'll just squeeze it in the push spot and get it going. Here it comes. There. Oh, it's still got some pink on it. I wonder what I use this pink with. Are we getting pink off? Okay. I don't know how much I got. Well, we'll see what happens. So I'm not squeezing it as I go. It has come down in the chamber onto the end of my brush, and I'm using it. Now I'm going to squeeze a little bit because I don't want it too much. It's too diluted otherwise. And I think it's working just the same way. It's just a matter of it would be drying faster than water. It does need a little more color though. right? Because it's looking a little light. So we got to add a little more color. This is, I just grabbed it without even looking, Melon Mambo. There we go. Let's see what happens when we do that. Okay, I do still want the black lines to show up nicely, so I didn't want to cover it up entirely. There we go. Yes, the answer is you can use alcohol with watercolor pencils. I hadn't even thought of that. So I don't know, I'm not much of a gardener. I don't know if hydrangeas come in pinks. I think they do. Most colors do tend to come in pinks. Now I'm just gonna, the Flirty Flamingo has a much more salmon kind of look to it than the Melon Mambo, which is very, very pink. There we go. I'm gonna squeeze some more and spread it around and fill in some of those gaps. Okay, then I'm just gonna wipe this off over here. And we're going to go in and do the same with the greens. And that's going to spread those two colors around nicely. I had a good flow coming out of this aqua painter. No, not aqua painter. I have to remember the right name. Water painters. Or in this case, alcohol painters. They're made of plastic. I kind of figure they're good for anything. I've seen people put bleach in them as well to do bleaching techniques. You want to make sure you know what's in it before you get started, though. You don't want to be mixing your chemicals. God knows what would happen to you down in the stamp room. Okay. And I'm not really going to try to go down that stem. It's awfully thin. I'm not... I'm touching it ever so gently because I'm not sure my hand is steady enough. Okay, oops, then remember to wipe off before you move along. So that is watercolor painting. There you go. And when I put it on the black, well, it just helps it jump off the page nicely. I'm all out of Stampin' Seal, if you can believe it. So even on the watercolor paper, you can use your Tombow liquid glue. And the reason I have my greeting, I gotta be honest, up in the top corner on my sample card is because when I flipped it over, my paper towel was sitting there, and right in that spot on there I got a blob of the blue, and I went, oh crumbs, so I have to kind of do something to put my greeting there. So that's where that one ended up. And then I've got a smidgen of this left, probably enough to do this card. Must add this to my next order. I love this gingham paper or ribbon. If you've never used it, I'm actually going to do a bow. If you've never used it with coloring it with your Stampin' Blends or your Sharpie markers, if you have no Stampin' Blends, I can hook you up. Then you need to try that because that's a lot of fun. It really changes it up. Okay, come on. There we go. Alrighty, and then we're just going to put that on there. And then I'm going to stamp up in the corner. Let's see. I appreciate all the little things you do. To an incredible woman, you make me smile. I think you make me smile is probably one that I would use a lot. So you see, I've used it a bit, this stamp set, but not a lot. You make me smile. There it is. I like the font on it. This is a one that I must have stamped and just put in my box to use. Yeah, it does dry a bit faster, but I think it looks nice. Oh, no, not at all. I love when people make suggestions. Don't even worry about it. A block. We need a block. There we go. And we will use, I think, since it's the only thing I have handy, the Memento ink again. And it doesn't matter the size of the stamp. I tend to use memento that way than going into it. Funny how we get into our little ways of doing things, right? You make me smile. And I'm holding it a good long time there because I wanted to make sure that the ink transferred well. When I'm teaching people who don't do a lot of stamping, I remind them that the magic isn't in pressing hard into the ink pad, but in letting the ink, once it's on the stamp, have a little bit of 3 to 5 seconds to transfer onto your medium. Alrighty, and then here's this one, and that's gonna, look at how that pops with those two colors together, right? Lovely. Doesn't even need to be popped up. I think this would make a great class card if you're the kind of person who runs classes, if you're a demonstrator. Kind of a fun, easy one to do when you're in person. I am personally looking to resume in-person classes in September, provided things all continue the same way they've been going. Maybe even in August if I want to start my Christmas in-person classes early. It's a scary thought, but you got to do it sometime. You just simply do. All right, friends, we need some embellishments on here. What have I got? Oh, I got these ones that I like, the iridescent rhinestones. We've now got iridescent pearls, which, these are kind of pinky. It's a little too much pink. Changing my mind. I think I'm going to go with actually the black, matte black dots. These are ones I like as well, a lot. There's just a lot you can do with them. And on this one, I only put one, which is really unusual for me. I tend to put 3 on everything. Thanks, Brenda. Turned out great, eh, Barbara? I thought so. I love it when a plan comes together. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I tend to put 3, and I tend to put 3 of the same size because, I don't know, I'm just like that. You make me smile. This one gets to go over here or down below. Down below. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Whoop. Why are you stuck? Don't get stuck. Must be a little bit of glue there. Alrighty, that's my card for tonight. I'll post still photos. Thank you for watching and playing along or listening to me. I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I will see you next week on Monday. Take good care, my friends. Bye.